The 1886 Crescent Hotel. They call it America's most haunted hotel, a place where guests wake up with fingerprints on their wrists, where children laugh in empty hallways, and where a man dressed as a doctor still roams the corridors, even though he died over 80 years ago. This is not a legend. This is not a movie. What you are about to hear is a faceless reconstruction of real events, witness accounts, and unexplained incidents surrounding the 1886 Crescent Hotel and Spa in Eureka Springs, Arkansas. And once you hear what happened inside room 218, you may never sleep in a hotel the same way again. High above the Ozark Mountains, perched on a quiet hill, stands a massive limestone structure. At first glance, it looks elegant, peaceful, almost welcoming. But the locals know better. The 1886 Crescent Hotel was built as a luxury resort for the wealthy elite. Politicians, railroad tycoons, socialites. From the outside, it promised healing air and rest. From the inside, it would become something else entirely. Because before it was a hotel, before it was a hospital, before it was even finished, people were already dying on that hill. Construction began in 1884. Workers quickly noticed something was wrong. Tools went missing. Footsteps echoed at night when no one was there. Several laborers reported seeing a tall shadow standing at the edge of the property, watching silently. One worker fell from scaffolding without explanation. Another was crushed by stone that had been secured. The deaths were ruled accidents. But the workers whispered something different. They said the land did not want the building. Still, construction continued, and in 1886, the Crescent Hotel opened its doors. Despite its beauty, the hotel struggled. Guests complained of illness. Some left early, pale and shaken. Others claimed they heard voices through the walls, soft whispers that called their names in the middle of the night. Within a few years, the luxury dream collapsed. The Crescent Hotel shut down. But the building did not remain empty for long, because something far worse was about to move in. In the 1930s, a man named Norman G. Baker took over the building. He was not a real doctor, but he convinced thousands that he was. Baker turned the Crescent Hotel into a cancer hospital, claiming he had a miracle cure. People came from across the country, desperate, dying, hopeful. What they didn't know was that Baker's treatments were torture. Patients were injected with unknown substances, starved, left in pain. Many never left the building alive. Their bodies were secretly transported down the hill and buried without families ever knowing the truth. Years later, Baker would be arrested. But by then, it was too late. The hotel was already full. After the hospital closed, the building reopened once again as a hotel. That's when the hauntings began. Housekeepers refused to clean certain rooms. Guests complained of being watched while sleeping. Elevators stopped on floors no one had pressed. Then came room 218. A woman stayed there alone. At 3:12 a.m., she called the front desk screaming. She said a man was standing at the foot of her bed, wearing old-fashioned clothes, smiling. When staff arrived, the room was empty. The woman checked out immediately. She never spoke of it again. Guests began reporting a child, a boy around 5 years old, curly hair, Victorian clothing. They called him Michael. Children staying at the hotel played with him. Adults saw him rolling a ball down hallways. But whenever someone tried to speak to him, he vanished. One night, a guest followed Michael to the stairwell. The boy turned, smiled, and said, "You shouldn't be here," then disappeared into thin air. Late at night, staff see her. A woman in a long white dress walking slowly through the halls. She smells of flowers. If you try to speak to her, she fades away. Some believe she was a patient. Others think she was a nurse who never escaped the hospital. Whatever she is always seen near rooms where guests later report nightmares. The hotel's basement once served as a morgue. Employees refuse to go there alone. Footsteps follow them. Cold hands touch their shoulders. Lights flicker violently. Security cameras have recorded a man standing in the hallway, tall or silent, watching. When guards approach, the figure vanishes. No explanation, no reflection, no sound. A man woke up with scratches across his chest. A woman found handprints on her back. Another guest was pushed down the hallway by something unseen. Psychics refused to stay overnight. Paranormal investigators record voices whispering, "Help me. Don't leave. He's still here." The most terrifying spirit is Norman Baker himself. Guests see a man in a purple shirt and tie, standing in doorways, watching silently. Employees report hearing laughter near the old operating rooms. Some say Baker walks the halls, still searching for patients, still experimenting, still killing. Today, the Crescent Hotel welcomes tourists. People laugh. They take photos. They book haunted tours. But at night, when the lights go out, the hotel remembers what it was, and those who died there are not done telling their story, because some places do not forget pain, and some doors should never be reopened. So the next time you check into a hotel, listen carefully. If you hear footsteps outside your door, but no one is there, you may not be alone. Hotel Monteleone. New Orleans is a city that never lets the dead rest. Every street remembers footsteps. Every building remembers names. But Hotel Monteleone remembers something else. Not who stayed, not who died. It remembers who was erased. Guests don't complain about screams here. They complain about being watched while reading, about words changing on the page, about reflections that don't blink. Because in Hotel Monteleone, something has been trying to write itself into existence, and it does not have a face. Hotel Monteleone opened in 1886 in the heart of the French Quarter. From the outside, it looks elegant. Old world charm, balconies, soft yellow lights glowing at night. But Monteleone was never just a hotel. It was a gathering place for writers: Ernest Hemingway, Tennessee Williams, William Faulkner, Truman Capote, men who believed stories were alive. They drank here, they argued here, they wrote here, and unknowingly, they fed something. Because long before the writers arrived, the land already had a voice, and it wanted to be heard. The hotel's most famous attraction is the Carousel Bar, a slow-moving, rotating bar that spins endlessly. One full rotation every 15 minutes. Beautiful, hypnotic. But some bartenders refuse to work the late shift, because when the bar spins at night, after the lights dim, some customers swear they see someone standing still, not moving with the carousel, just watching, always watching. Hotel records show a room that has been reassigned more than any other. No explanation given, no permanent number. Staff simply refer to it as the writer's room. Guests assigned there often request to move, not because of noise, not because of comfort, but because of the typewriter. An old, black, manual typewriter that appears on the desk. No one brings it in. housekeeping removes it, and it comes back. In 2008, a man checked into Hotel Monteleone under the name Daniel Crow. He was a freelance journalist. He requested a quiet room and specifically asked if any famous writers had stayed there. The clerk smiled and unknowingly gave him the writer's room. Daniel unpacked, sat at the desk, and noticed the typewriter. No ribbon, no paper loaded, but when he touched the keys, they were warm. That night, Daniel placed his notebook on the desk. He began writing by hand, but every time he looked away, the typewriter keys clicked, softly, slowly, like fingers learning. Finally, he turned. A single page had been fed into the typewriter. One sentence was written. "You read me. Now I see you." Daniel laughed nervously. He assumed it was a prank, until he realized something else. The sentence was written in his own handwriting style. Over the next 2 days, Daniel stayed in the room. Each night, the typewriter wrote more. Short paragraphs, observations, descriptions of Daniel's thoughts, his childhood, his fears, things he had never written down, never said aloud. The final line always repeated, "I need your name." When Daniel tried to write his name on paper, his hand froze, his fingers trembled. The letters wouldn't come. It was as if the concept of his name was slipping away. Hotel Monteleone's mirrors are old, thick glass, slightly warped. Daniel noticed something disturbing. When he looked into the mirror while holding the typed pages, his reflection blurred. Not the room, not the background, just his face, smooth, undefined, like a character waiting to be described. On the third night, Daniel went to the carousel bar. He sat as it rotated slowly. Music played, glasses clinked. But then the bar stopped. No announcement, no warning. Everyone else continued moving, except one figure across from him. A man, no features, just a pale shape wearing a suit, holding a page. The page Daniel had written earlier that day. The carousel resumed. The figure was gone, but the page remained. Daniel's last journal entry was later found in his room, written shakily, incomplete. It reads when we read. It watches when we imagine. The stories gave it shape, but no face. Now it wants. The sentence ends there. The rest of the page is blank, except for fingerprints, pressed so hard they tore the paper. Daniel Crow never checked out. Security footage showed him entering his room, but never leaving. His ID was found, but when staff looked closely, the name on it had faded, not scratched, not erased, simply gone, like it was never written. In 2015, a strange book appeared in a small New Orleans bookstore. No author listed, no publisher. The title, Monteleone. Every chapter was written in a different style, different voice, different era, but every story described the same thing. A hotel, a room, a faceless observer, and a final line repeated in every chapter. "I am almost real now." Paranormal researchers believe the entity was born from repetition, stories retold, voices layered, imagination given space to grow. It was never a ghost, never a demon. It was an unfinished character, created by writers, sustained by readers, strengthened by attention, and Hotel Monteleone became its library. Staff still hear typing after midnight. The typewriter appears in empty rooms. Guests wake up with ink on their hands. Some swear they dreamed entire novels, only to forget their own names upon waking. And sometimes, a guest checks in, sits at the desk, and begins to write. If you ever stay at Hotel Monteleone and you find a typewriter in your room, do not touch it. Do not read what it has written. And whatever you do, Do not try to write yourself into the story, because once it knows your name, it will never let you leave the page. Some stories want to be told, others want to be you. The Hawthorne Hotel. The Hawthorne Hotel has stood in Salem for nearly a century. Thousands have slept within its walls. Most woke up, some left changed, and a few never truly left at all. Guests don't talk about screams here. They talk about silence, the kind that presses against your ears at night, the kind that feels aware. Because at the Hawthorne Hotel, something watches, and it does not have a face. The Hawthorne Hotel opened its doors in 1925, standing proudly across from Salem Common, its red brick exterior promising elegance, comfort, and history. Named after the famous author Nathaniel Hawthorne, whose dark tales were born from Salem's past, the hotel was meant to honor literature. Instead, it inherited something else, something older. Salem was never just a town. It was a wound. Centuries before the hotel was built, this land was soaked in paranoia, executions, whispered accusations, and fear so thick it rewrote reality itself. People were killed here not because they were evil, but because someone believed they were. And belief, once strong enough, leaves marks. When construction workers began digging the foundation, several reported strange problems. Tools went missing. Voices echoed from empty pits. One man quit after claiming he saw a woman standing in the trench at dawn, her feet never touching the ground. The project continued. It always does. The Hawthorne Hotel has many rooms. Most have stories, but there is one room, rarely assigned, often avoided, that appears in staff logs without explanation. No tragic death recorded, no official incident, no paperwork, just complaints, cold air, whispering, and the recurring note written by different employees decades apart. Guest reports presence, no reflection visible. Room numbers have changed over the years, but the room remains. In October of 2012, during Salem's busiest season, a man checked into the Hawthorne Hotel under the name Elliot Marsh. He was quiet, mid-30s, neatly dressed, paid in cash. He requested a room for one night only. The front desk clerk noticed something strange immediately. Elliot avoided mirrors. When handed his key, he didn't look at his own reflection in the brass desk plate. Instead, he stared at the clerk. Not rudely, not intensely, just blankly, like he was waiting for something to be said. The clerk hesitated, then assigned him a room. The room. At 1:13 a.m., the front desk received a call. The voice on the other end was Elliot's, but it didn't sound right. It was flat, monotone, emotionless. He said only one sentence. "Someone is standing where I should be." The clerk asked him to explain. Silence. Then the line went dead. Security was dispatched. When they reached the room, the door was unlocked. The lights were off. The room was empty. The bed untouched. The bathroom mirror was covered with a towel. But on the wall opposite the bed, something had been written. Not scratched, not painted, pressed, as if fingers had pushed the message from inside the wall outward. 5 words. "I am still waiting." Elliot Marsh never checked out. His belongings were still in the room. Wallet, phone, clothes, but no ID photo, no pictures, no social media presence, no missing person report. It was as if he had existed only long enough to arrive. Management reported it to the police. The case quietly stalled, and the room was sealed for renovations. But renovations don't remove memory. They only disturb it. 3 weeks later, a housekeeper entered the room by mistake. She later quit the same day. Her statement was brief. She said the mirror was uncovered, and when she looked into it, the reflection did not move when she did. She saw herself blink, but the thing in the mirror didn't. It just stared from behind her. Guests who have stayed near the room describe similar experiences. A figure standing in corners, no features, no eyes, just a suggestion of a person where one should not be. Some hear breathing, others feel pressure on their chest while sleeping. A few wake up standing in front of the mirror, unsure how they got there. But the most chilling reports all share one detail. The presence only appears when the guest looks away from their reflection. During a major renovation in 2019, workers removed part of the wall behind the mirror. Inside, they found a small leather journal. No name, no dates. Just repeated entries written in increasingly shaky handwriting. They can see me when I stop seeing myself. I think it needs a face. It keeps trying mine. The final entry was written so hard the paper tore. I shouldn't have stayed. Historians believe the hotel stands near land once used to hold accused witches before trial. People stripped of identity, of names, of faces, in the eyes of those judging them. Fear erased who they were, and something learned, something watched, something realized that if it waits long enough, someone will offer themselves willingly, just to be seen. Staff still report the room key activating on its own, the elevator stopping at the wrong floor, mirrors fogging with no steam, and sometimes a man standing in the lobby late at night, waiting. No one approaches him, because when they look closely, there is no face. If you ever stay at the Hawthorne Hotel and you wake up feeling watched, do not check the mirror immediately. Do not look away from your reflection, because the moment you stop recognizing yourself, something else will try to take your place, and it has been waiting for a very long time. Some guests never check out. Some reflections never leave.